Hi everyone, it's Melissa Phillips, and today I'm here with a Makeup Monday tutorial for you, and we're going to be focusing on paper piecing. I've had several requests on my blog about how I go about paper piecing, so I thought it would be a fun Makeup Monday. The stamp set that I'm focusing on is the Friends Till the End stamp set. To begin with, I just used rustic cream cardstock and cut it 7.5 by 5 1/4 and then folded it in half. My next step was to cut a block of Pretty Pastels pattern paper, slightly smaller than my card base. And we're just going to set the card base aside for a minute and do our stamping right on this piece of paper. Okay, so what we're going to do is stamp the large bloom from the Friends Till the End stamp set right in the center of our Pretty Pastels paper. And I've got ahead and I've inked that in dark chocolate. And I'm just going to stamp it right there in the center. This will provide kind of like our template of where we're going to start cutting and piecing together our flower from different pattern papers. Okay, and then using the different patterns from the Pretty Pastels paper pad, I've gone ahead and I've stamped my large bloom again on each of the sheets that are available, except for that aqua one, because we're going to use it as our background and I want the blooms to stand out. So you're going to go ahead and stamp your flower. I would suggest 4 or 5 different patterns of paper. Will provide lots of interest for you. Okay, and then beginning with one of them, one of your patterns, you just go ahead and you start cutting out a section of the flower. So I'm just going to start with my yellow, and I like to select about 4 to 5 different petals for each section of this particular flower that I'm going to trim out of this section. And you don't have to get really nitpicky in the middle of the flower, because we're going to do something fun in the middle and embellish it, and it will cover up the center portion. So I just snip into my flowers and then I just start trimming. It takes a little bit of time, but the results are definitely worth it. Okay, we're just continually building on our bloom and adding colors as we go around in small segments. This is really fun. I don't know if everybody likes to paper piece and be detailed in their cutting, but I find it kind of relaxing to do at times. This is actually how I very first started stamping. I didn't have any markers or colored pencils. I had no training or help in knowing how, and so I started paper piecing, and this is a technique that I have loved from the very beginning. So we're just going to keep on piecing our colors together and arranging them how we like it, and watch the bloom come to life. Okay, we're just adding in the last few segments of our flower, and then our paper piecing will be done. I've always thought that by doing the flower this way, it almost creates a watercolor effect because of how the colors blend into one another. I don't know if anyone else can see that in this kind of a technique that we've just done, but I love the results. I hope you'll give it a try. Okay, so our paper piecing is done. The next thing we're going to do is add some more stamping, our sentiment and our So Simple borders across the top and the bottom. With my So Simple Borders stamp set and Melonberry ink, I'm just going to add stamping up here across the top of my card, and then stamping across the bottom. I love this stamp set, because it does add a fun, cozy homespun feel to your cards, and you don't have to use your sewing machine for it. Okay, and the next step would be to add my sentiment. And for that, I have used the Flower Fusion number 11 stamp set, and one of the sentiments from it that fits this card just perfectly. And I'm using dark chocolate ink for that so that it stands out a little bit. And that's just going to go at the base of our blossom. And there we have it. Our stamping is just about complete. What we're going to do next is kind of build our flower up and add some layering to it. And I used my Lovely Layers die, and I have this old spool of vintage trim. It doesn't have to be vintage if you want to try this technique. Just find some wide trim that you can cut this particular leaf from. And I've just snipped a segment, and I'm going to run this through my die cut machine 2 times so that I end up with 2 layers. And then right here in the center, we're going to start building and covering up what we've done here. These layers are going to offset one another. So that it fans out and forms a complete circle there. Okay, then I've used Vintage Cream Felt and my Beautiful Blooms 2 number 3 dies. I've cut 2 flowers. They're going to be layered in the center as well, offset from one another so that they fan out. And then I've threaded a Sweet Blush button with purple embroidery floss just to tie in those colors, and it's going to go right there in the center of our card. Okay, and then using the new Ruby Rose stamp set and die, I cut some leaves for our flower, and I'm just going to adhere them right under one of these layers to continue to build our flower. Okay, and then to finish things off, I am using some Vintage Cream Twill. I'm just attaching a strip across the top here, securing it on the back. Okay, and then using a second strand, threading it under and just forming a knot right here at the top. Just going to trim my ends. Okay, and then we'll go ahead and adhere that to our card base, and we are done. Okay, I would have to say that paper piecing is probably my very most favorite technique, stamping technique, because I love patterns. And pattern paper is probably what first drew me to paper crafting in the first place. So to get to use pattern paper with stamping to create something that reflects your own personal style is something that I just love. So it's a technique that's my favorite and will continue to remain my favorite. I hope you'll give it a try and mix the colors up. See what happens when you change those patterns and those colors and how it can affect the results. Thanks so much for stopping by. We'll see you later.